Hello class, this is Instructor Cleo Washington. Welcome to Dftg 1392 Rivet Architecture, and today's video is going to be on Chapter 5, Dimensioning and Annotating. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. First things first, I want you guys to make sure that you have all of your windows in the model. Okay, you can copy these windows from the first floor and paste them aligned to the selected levels the same way we did the interior walls. Okay, also on the west wing of the building, I did not cover this in the last video. I just arrayed the windows, but the windows were not aligned with the reference planes. So make sure you go back and align your windows with the reference plane using the align tool that we demonstrated in the previous video. Okay, those are the only two things I wanted to touch on before we move forward. So let's go ahead and jump into it. When we dimension models, the first thing we're going to do is on the Annotate tab, you're going to click the Align Dimension tool, okay? And you want to make sure that you have wall faces selected, okay? And here's the pick option. You can pick to dimension the entire wall or the reference. So you want to make sure you have entire wall selected, and you want to select the options menu right here. And make sure you have intersecting walls selected, and then click OK. And then just click the northern wall of the east wing, okay? And it's going to give you a dimension. I call it an auto dimension, okay? Now after you've done that, you see it dimensions each wall, okay? In most cases, we would dimension the breaks in the building, then we would dimension the steel, then we would add an overall. But for sticking to what's outlined and documented in the book, we're going to do it just like they say, okay? So with that being said, and with the align dimension still active, let's go back to the pick option and change this to individual reference, okay? And then click on this wall right here. Individual reference, all faces, click here, and then you can click here. Okay, obviously my rivet is not working properly. It's supposed to select that wall, but sometimes that's life in rivet. It doesn't always do it to tell it, and therefore you have to really know many different ways to accomplish one task. Other than that, it's a very powerful program, and I think in 2020 they have corrected some of these glitches. But right now I'm operating on 2019. The only thing that's different in 2020 that I know of, outside of some of the glitches that have been corrected, is that you can bring in PDFs. But we won't be doing any of that in this course. So, but that's how you do that. So the next thing I want you to do is go back to Align Dimensions again, okay? And leave the individual reference icon selected. And let's click this wall right here. And let's click the center line of this door, okay? And as you can see, the dimension string is still active. So let's go ahead and snap it to the face of this building and just click right here. And let's go ahead and do an overall as well, from the face of this wall to the face of this wall that's connected to the oval. So we see that it's 16 feet. Well, what's going on right here? Our dimensions are not equal. So you can select the dimensions and click right click and click EQ, okay? And right here is the EQ icon. You can toggle the dimensions here and just turn on the equal button, okay? We all know this is going to be 8 and 8, right? And if you really want to, you see how the door moved with it? So the door is actually now in the center of this wall right here, okay? So that's pretty much it right now for Align Dimensions. I think you guys are going to be very happy with this. It's very easy, okay? So next we are going to dimensioning angles. Okay, so zoom into the corridor portion of your building here, okay? Go back to the Annotate tab and select Align Dimensions, okay? First of all, when you dimension in an angle like this, sometimes you have to give it a point of reference because it doesn't automatically snap to things like you want it to, okay? And there's several ways to do this, but I like to do things quick. So let's draw a reference plane. Type in RP and draw your reference plane at 45 degrees from this inside corner. And then select that reference plane, type in CO to copy, and select it from this point and copy it down to this break in the wall right here. Okay? Actually, no, that's the wrong spot. I need to put it on the exterior. So we'll move it. We need to place it right here. I can get it to snap properly. Oh yeah. Let's just do this piece. Cool. Let's take this and snap it right here. I'll give you a different way to do things. I know you guys are following along in the book, so in these demonstrations, I may do something different because I've done it so much to where sometimes I know that it's quicker to do something a certain way. And then sometimes I might leave some things out just to see if you guys will pick it up. But let's go ahead and add a dimension here. Click the line and snap a dimension to this reference plane. Okay? So the book has a certain dimension here. I think their dimension is 35, 1.5. Everybody's dimension for this wall is going to be off a little bit. My main intent here is to show you guys how to set the tolerances. See, this is 34 foot 10, 17, 30 seconds. That's not an acceptable tolerance for a dimension. And when I say tolerance, typically when contractors build buildings, they like those tolerances to be set to 0 or to a 1/2 inch. Okay, and let's get into it so you can actually see what I mean. So select the dimension here and select the edit type button. Okay, and if you remember that instance with the doors, when you only want to change that one thing, you have to do what? You have to rename it. Okay, you don't really have to duplicate it, but I would say rename it. You know, it just depends on what you want to do. So we'll rename it, okay? And we'll call it linear style 3/30 seconds aerial 1/4 inch precision. So when you click, I'm sorry, we're going to duplicate it. Yeah, let's duplicate it. And then we'll rename it. So you want to change this because the ones that you have over here are 3/30 second aerial. So when you click duplicate, it's going to duplicate it, and then it's going to give it 3/30 second aerial number 2. So I just deleted the 2. So you want to name this to be 3/30 second aerial 1/4 inch precision. And then you want to click OK. All right, next you want to change the units, okay? So these are all the parameters of the dimensions and of this dimension. If you click this down arrow, these are all the dimension types that we have in the model. So when you want to change something, once you actually rename it and give it a specific name, you can go to the properties menu and actually change that dimension. But let's go to units, okay? You see right here where it says units format? Click this button right here, okay? Uncheck this, use project settings, and change this. It says to the nearest 1/32. We need that to be changed to the nearest 1/4 inch. And then click OK. Click OK again. Now your dimension is very, very clean. It's approximately 34 foot 10.5, or if yours is 34 foot 1.5, you're going to see that precision change. Okay. This portion is probably going to be different just about for everybody. But then again, some of you may have yours specifically how it's laid out in the book. Things like this, I won't grade you too hard on because I know sometimes it could vary. It just depends on where you align your reference planes to and where you snap from, okay? At the end of the day, the contractor has an accurate dimension of this wall, and we'll go back and give it an angle dimension later, okay? So that's pretty much it for the precisions, okay? Next, we are going to get into linear and angular dimensions. So these this dimension chapter is very simple, okay? I think once you go through the aligned and all of the rest, I mean, it's kind of so simple that once you get the gist of it. It's not going to be hard, okay? Well, let's look at linear dimensions. Let's click here, okay? And the way linear dimensions work is, let's say you would snap right here, and it's just a linear dimension. Okay, let's say you would snap right here. Okay, that's your corridor. And then you want to go from, let's just say, right here. Well, let's try this portion of the wall. And right here. And let's go ahead and snap to this guy right here. And you can drag it to the left. And then go something like that. Place it there. Okay. I didn't want that to show up like that. So let's redo that. Okay. Good snap. Let's go. And there's so many different ways you can do it. I think that using linear dimensions are okay. You just have to pick a preference. You know, you can dimension just about anything any way you want to do it, but linear and aligned dimensions are specific to its type. Okay, so let's click right here, and you can just place it right there. Okay, and next, let's go back to the Annotate tab and look at the angular dimension. All right, we need to give the contractor the angle of this wall. So you can click here, and you can click this outside face. It gives us the angle of that wall. Then let's just say you do the same thing here with the outside face, gives us the angle of that wall. Or you can do it right here. Okay, it just depends on how you like to show it. But you have to be able to illustrate how these walls can be constructed. You have to give that to the contractor so they can construct the building. Okay? So that's pretty much it for linear and angular dimensions. You know, you guys can change that by doing edit type. You can modify its precision. We already have it set. In fact, let's do a brief demonstration. We changed this guy right here. If you highlight this dimension and you go back to the properties, we changed this to 1/4 precision, right? So if we wanted to, let's say, change it to something else, like just 3/32 aerial, then it'll go back to that default setting of 1/32. Okay, so that's how that works. Once you duplicate something and you give it a specific name, then you can take that object and change its property, if you will. Okay, so that's pretty much it for angular dimensions. Let's get into radial dimensions. Okay, so when you are using dimensions as a layout tool, okay, and if you guys haven't done so, you can see that I have already added these two interior walls. So I would just go to East Wing and highlight a wall and right click it and click Create Similar. And draw two walls that's aligned with this wall that attaches to the radial wall here and here, okay? For time's sake. So let's go ahead and draw some walls here, okay? We want to place 5 walls in here. So again, right click, Create Similar, and I know the book gives us a specific spacing for each wall, but we're not going to worry about that. We just want to lay something out quick, right? So we want to add 5 walls, so we need to add 4 more. So select the wall, and I like to copy, hit CO for copy, make sure multiple is selected, and just place 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay? Just place them there really quick, because we're using dimensioning as a layout tool. Next, I want you to go ahead, back to the Annotate, click Align, make sure wall faces, and change individual references to entire walls. Go back to your option menu, make sure intersecting walls has been selected, and click that wall, and there you have your dimensions. Okay, so now we want to make all of these spaces equal. So you can select that dimension string and double click the EQ icon and just click Remove Constraints, because when you put those walls in, they were constrained to these exterior walls. Just select Remove Constraints, and now you have equal spacing, okay? Or supposedly close enough, close to equal for these walls. And you can take them, and what I like to do is I like to take them and just kind of center them, something like that. All right, I'm not going to grade you guys as it regards to spacing. I just want to make sure you get the concepts of dimensioning, okay, and placing walls. All right, so that's pretty much that's how we use dimensions as a layout tool, okay? Next, we're going to look at how we are going to go about, and let's see, there are some things I want to cover with you guys, but there are some things that I kind of want you to go through it on your own. We don't want to talk about overrides and things of that nature. So yeah, let's talk about placing text and annotations. I think we've covered everything as it regards dimensions. So right now, click to unhighlight your walls and save your model, okay? And let's go ahead and look at placing text and annotations. So adding text is very simple, and I've already placed some here in the model. I'll place this same text on this side. You guys, of course, you know you can just select it and mirror it, but I want to go through the motions of actually placing text into a model. So first thing you would do is go to the Annotate tab and click the text button. And you have all types of text. You can just do text with no leader, and the leader is a line pointing to or calling something out. Or you can do something with two segments, which is what I have here, which is what I like to use. Sometimes you can use a curved leader, and then there's sometimes where you just have one segment and it's a straight line. But let me show you how I did this. I clicked two segments and click here and here. And Rivet will align itself if something has already been done. So I can just type in CMU shaft wall, double click outside of it, and there's your text, okay? And I'll just mirror this one just for time's sake, but you would do this one the same way, okay? So that won't run, delete. Select this guy, aim for mirror, boom. Okay, you can also change the leader lines of the text. So if you select the text, or actually if you go right here and click the down arrow under the text box here, let's go ahead and see the leader arrowhead. We want to change that to 15-degree closed, okay? Fill, 15 degrees. Click apply and click OK. Now your arrows are solid black, which is pretty much what's utilized in the architectural industry, okay? If you want to change the text, you can just double click in it. It's just like Microsoft Word. You know, you can put in everything you want to put in. And if you don't want to do it, you want to get out of it, you can just undo it. All right. You can also change the text properties. We want this text property to be set to 3/32 Arial, but if you change it to 1/4 Arial, you see you have different sizes. So typically what we use in Rivet is 3/32 Arial, okay? So ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for the placing text and annotations chapter. Again, I let chapter 4 run kind of long because I knew this chapter was going to be very, very short, sweet, and simple, okay? So keep working on your models. You know, this week we will not meet in the media gallery. You have